Today I'm going to be reviewing one of my own games and walk you through my thought process, the decisions I'm making, the game plan I'm playing towards, and how I navigate the matchup. A quick reminder that I do offer one-on-one private coaching sessions and also VOD review sessions. If you enjoy how I explain my thought process and think that I'd be able to help you improve at the Pokémon trading card game, pop me a message on Discord, or book a session through Medify. This is my job, so I really appreciate every single one of my students and everyone who buys a guide. Now, let's get back to the video. So this game was streamed over during one of my streams. You guys should pop in, come say hi on Twitch or YouTube, whichever one tickles your fancy. But we are playing against Raging Bolt. So a few key notes for this matchup is one, usually this matchup is decided on who takes the first two prize cards, right? So the first two prize cards. This is the most important thing in this matchup because it is very easy for both these decks to trade back and forth two prizes, right? And it's honestly just whoever takes the first two. Because let's say, for example, I take the first two prize cards, they'll respond with two, then I'll go with another two, they'll respond with two, and then I'll close out the game taking the last two prize cards. And this is super important because even if they take the first prize card and I take the first two prize cards, let's say they knock out my Yveltal with the Raging Bolt, and now I go ahead and Zoroark knock out their Raging Bolt, meaning I'm on 4 while they're on 5. Even though they'll go down to 3 prize cards next turn, I'm going to go down to 2. And then they'll go down to 1, and I'll go down to 0, right? I'll win the game even though they took the first knockout, but since that first knockout was a 1 prizer, it doesn't really matter that much. This is also quite important because it means if they miss an attack, you don't have to evolve into Zoroarks straight away if you don't have like a knockout. Let's say they have a Kangaskhan inactive, but you don't actually have much, so you'd rather just Lily and then maybe try find a Cyrano for the next turn and try and bait them into taking the first knockout, right? You want to maybe get them to promote a Teal Mask Ogerpon or get them to promote a Raging Bolt, and then that means from that turn you can go Cyrano, evolve into Zoroark, and start swinging because you'll be taking the first two prize cards. But if they do get aggressive and take the first one prizer, obviously then you can just start swinging as well. However, this is something that kind of doesn't happen this game. I have an okay start. I'm able to find the energy and the Zorua. This is super important because it means I have a high possibility to get a knockout on his following turn. And, you know, in this instance, I'm thinking, all right, I'm probably playing against Slotbox because, you know, I started Kangaskhan, they're powering up multiple Teal Mask Ogerpons, they've attached Psychic Energy, but this Lightning Energy is giving me like a bit of a question mark, right? Usually these Slotbox decks don't play Lightning Energy, so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, maybe we're not playing against Slotbox. And now this turn, he gets a knockout with Kangaskhan. This is the best possible thing that he can do, right? In his case, and this is for one major reason. And I'll let you guys think about it for about 5 seconds before I give you the answer. But why do you think it is really important that he took a knockout with the Kangaskhan and not something like a Teal Mask Ogerpon or a Raging Bolt? Well, it is because the Kangaskhan has 300 HP instead of the Raging Bolt or Teal Mask Ogerpon's lower 240 and 210 HP, right? This is very difficult for me to trade back on. Remember how I said, even though he takes the first prize card, it's fine because I can take the first two? In this instance, it is actually difficult for me to respond. Meaning, if I don't respond and he takes a knockout, that all of a sudden now he's down to 3 prize cards. Or even if I don't evolve into Zoroark, he's down to, you know, 4 prize cards. Meaning even if I do KO this on the following turn, then I take 2 turns to KO this, I go down to 3, and then I'm in the same predicament that I spoke about beforehand, where even though I'm ahead on prize cards, since it's his turn and he's on 4, he'll go down to 2 prize cards, meaning I'll go down to 1 prize card, and then he'll win the game. So unless he overbenches another Kangaskhan, and I'm able to KO that with something like a Mochi plus Monkey Dory or Mochi plus Black Belt, I'm not going to win the game, right? And obviously, he's just not going to bench on the Kangaskhan. These decks usually only play one Kangaskhan. Somehow they start it every single time, but it is what it is. And also, when I do find out this is Raging Bolt shortly, I'll tell you something else that is also going through my mind. So the only thing that is important for me right now is to not give him Mega Lopunny, right? Mega Lopunny would be the worst case scenario because that means he'll go down from 5 to let's say 3 he'll take 3, sorry, he'll be on 5 prize cards, he'll take 3, go down to 2. So that means even though he's on 5 right now, if he knocks out the Zoroark next turn, he'll go down to 3, and then if I attack with Mega Lopunny, then he'll obviously go down to 0 straight away. So that is something I want to avoid giving him. Right now, I feel safe getting into the Zoroark because he has used a bunch of resources to actually power up this Kangaskhan, right? And there's no Latias on the bench, there's no switching cards currently for him to pivot out of this Pokemon, so unless he hits double heads on the Kangaskhan, I am feeling quite safe on my Zoroark surviving. And from here, I get a pretty decent hand. But I do have a few questions I need to ask myself. And one of these main questions is, what do I want to attack with, right? I can attack with Reshiram and do 170 damage. But the thing is, that doesn't really get me anywhere. That's the same as basically doing no damage, right? Because I'm not taking a prize card, I'm not getting close to a knockout. But if I do attack with Zekrom and deal 250 damage, now all of a sudden, this is in range of Monkey Dory KOs, right? I can start, doing some Monkey Dory shenanigans and actually KO this on a later turn when I also KO something else at the exact same time, essentially meaning I take 5 prize cards in one turn. So even if my opponent takes the first 2 prize cards, if I take 5 prize cards in one turn, it doesn't matter if he's ahead in the prize race, right? Because I will be taking, essentially, I'll be skipping a turn since I'll be taking 2 at the same turn. But how in the world am I, 1, going to take 5 prize cards in a single turn, right? And 2, how am I ever going to get Monkey Dory damage, right? I'm playing against a deck that one-shots me, that never leaves damage on the board, right? And this is where the Pekron comes in. There was a reason I benched this as well, because Yveltal Monkey Dory might have to win me this game, right? Yveltal Monkey Dory is going to be a really strong combo, and that is something that I might be able to pull off. And this is for one major reason. I played against a Raging Bolt earlier on in the stream, and his ace spec of choice was the Unfair Stamp, right? Unfair, it's US, Unfair Stamp, right? The US is an Unfair Stamp confirmed. That is the US ace spec. So he is playing Unfair Stamp, right? I am assuming he is also playing Unfair Stamp, because in my mind, recency bias, I don't really know what Raging Bolt lists look like recently, but one of them was playing Unfair Stamp, so in my mind, this one's also going to be playing Unfair Stamp. This is really important, because the other ace spec I would assume he would be run would be the Prime Catcher, right? And Prime Catcher, for me, in this position, is a game, winning card for him. If he has Prime Catcher, he probably wins this game, because it completely goes around my Yveltal play. Because now, all of a sudden, if he takes a knockout this next turn and goes down to 4 or 3 prize cards, it doesn't matter if I take 5 prize cards in a single turn, because he will be able to Prime Catcher before I'm able to probably KO this Kangaskhan, and he'll probably go down to 1 or 2 prize cards before I take those 5 prize cards. And then if I do take those 5 prize cards, all he has to do is chain one more attack together and then win the game. And chaining in one more attack while I'm trying to slow the game down is going to be very easy, because I don't play Unfair Stamp. My ace spec is Scoop Up Cyclone, which in this position isn't really helping me too much. But let's just see how this game goes. So I end up deciding to go for the 250 damage play here. And I also bench Pheasantipity to just draw a few more cards, because I kind of needed to, see some stuff. I am currently in a position where I'm on the back foot. I may as well bench liabilities, because I need to be able to play the game. And if he does take a knockout on this following turn, Pheasantipity is going to give me good value, right? So, for example, if he does KO one of my Pokemon, it opens up a bench slot, right? Because right now I only have one bench slot. And if I want to do the Yveltal Pekrunt Monkey Dory thing, obviously I need 3 bench slots for that, right? But I've already benched Pekrunt over here, meaning I still need 2 bench slots. So even though I've left open a single bench slot, it doesn't really matter, because if he does KO me, I get that second bench slot, right? I'll be able to free up one of my bench slots. And if he doesn't KO me, I don't need to go for the Yveltal Pekrunt Monkey Dory play, because I will be able to go ahead in prizes before he does, right? So it's just giving me the maximum out of play, and the Pheasantipity is just a valuable card, being able to see a few more cards. And then also, if he does go for the KO, it basically heightens my odds of hitting the Yveltal Monkey Dory. Because if you look at my hand right now, right, I don't have Yveltal, right? I don't have Monkey Dory. And I don't have energy attached to either of those because I don't have them, right? And I can't power them both up at the same turn. So I'd have to find Yveltal first, and then attach to it, and then also have to Boss's Order something, hoping he benches a liability. And then on the following turn, I would have to find the Monkey Dory and attach to that as well to start moving damage from my Yveltal to the Kangaskhan. It is a lot of stuff that has to go right for me to actually win this game. So, obviously, this confirms to me that he is playing Raging Bolt, right? This is... I already assumed he was playing Raging Bolt because I saw this Lightning Energy, and that's not something you usually see in slot box decks, so I assumed we were playing against Raging Bolt. But I was also hoping that he would have to find a Pokemon to switch, right? Because right now, this guy is stuck in active, and I don't think he wants to attack with him right now because he would have to flip 2 heads. If he flips 2 heads, it's great for him. But if he doesn't flip 2 heads, the game is really bad. He's in a horrible position because then all of a sudden I can bench Reshiram and just one-shot anything on his board whenever I want. And that's just not something he wants to give me access to, right? So instead, what does end up happening here is he benches the, I'll play a little bit further forward. He ends up benching the grass guy, the Rapid Vernier, what is it, Iron Leaves. The Iron Leaves, right? And Iron Leaves one-shots me. And that's obviously not good, right? I get a little bit of a bug here because I don't see this other energy and he KOs me and I get a bit tilted on stream because you can see my face, like what is going on. But yes, he goes ahead. I was thinking maybe he misplayed or something, or misclicked, but no, he doesn't. And I'm like, okay, cool. What? Anyway, so it's a visual bug apparently, right? So you might be thinking, well, why don't I just KO this with a one prizer, right? Why don't I get a Mochi onto my Zorua, boss up the Kangaskhan and KO it with my Zorua, right? Well, because I'd go down to 3 prize cards, and then on the following turn, my opponent would just go down to 2 prize cards, right? And then I can't do anything because I'm still losing that 2/2/2 prize map. So this is the turn where I have to trap something. But as you can see, he didn't bench Latias or didn't bench like any of those pivot cards because this was a pivot card. But it does have an attack that says it can't use the attack on the following turn. So essentially, I can trap this for a single turn, right? But then after that, the game becomes a little difficult because I can't just trap the Iron Leaves forever because it's going to swing on the following turn. So what ends up happening is I end up deciding to just play the Ends PP up just to thin it out of my hand a little bit, and then I go for the Lily, right? There's nothing else I really want to thin. I probably could have benched the Stadium, but I end up drawing into it. I draw into the Ultra Ball plus the Energy, and that is exactly what I needed. And on the following turn, I'm going to have to do the exact same thing where I find a Monkey Dory and an Energy, right? So I find the Night Stretcher to bring back my Yveltal because that was the first card that died, and now all of a sudden, the game is looking a little bit better. I can trade away the Baneri because we've already gone over how bad that card is in this current situation, and now I am able to deploy the Yveltal strategy. So just keep in mind, in this position, he has 3 prize cards left, right? He should be winning this game. I have 6 prize cards left. I am in a horrible position. Yveltal is the only out I have in this game, right? This is one of the times where it's just called playing into your outs, right? And this is the only out I had, is actually trapping this Iron Leaves to try and keep it in the active spot for just 1 turn. Because 1 turn right now is all I need to kind of wiggle my way back into this game. And when he Teal Dances and attaches to this guy, I all of a sudden notice that this is a viable strategy, because I could essentially trap this other Teal Mask Ogerpon because it has 0 energy on it, and he's also down a few grass energies, right? He's down 4 grass energies in total right now. So in my mind, I'm thinking this is actually a viable strategy to try and trap this guy, because obviously next turn this Iron Leaves will be able to attack, so I can't trap this guy for another turn. So let's see what ends up happening. So he does end up passing, and I am able to go ahead and boss up the Teal Mask Ogerpon. But as you might see, I don't have an energy, right? I was unable to find an energy, meaning I can't bench my Monkey Dory, right? I don't have a way to get a Monkey Dory. So what I probably should have done beforehand is I probably should have Ultra Balled on the previous turn to get the Monkey Dory and thin that out of the deck to heighten my odds of drawing an energy out of the deck. It's just a little thing that, could have actually ended up helping me a lot. And I ended up doing this turn, which is just 1 turn too late. There was no reason for me to not do this the previous turn because I know what I'm going to go for, right? I should have just done this anyway. And now I start trapping this guy, right? So now I need at least 2 more turns of being able to trap this in the active. Because if I, for example, find the energy next turn, I'll be able to move 30 damage onto this guy, but I will have to trap this again, right? And then on the following turn, I'd be able to move 20 damage onto this guy to knock him out, retreat into my Zoroark, and knock out the Teal Mask Ogerpon. And then from there, all of a sudden, I'm in a much better position. But this is where things get a little scary, because I see him play the Area 0 Unadepts, and I know that I can get punished here. If he benches a few more Pokemon over here, he can essentially go ahead and bench Chien Pao as well, or Stadium Bump, and get rid of the Kangaskhan. And then my game plan is finished. But I don't really have a better game plan right now, other than exactly what I'm going for here, so I just have to stick to what I was going to go for originally. So he ends up going for the Meowth, right? He grabbed it off the Cyrano the last turn, and he goes for Cypher Mane as code breaking. So I'm assuming if he does play the Prime Catcher. We are either about to see it right now if he has a Teal Dance, or we're about to see it on the next turn. So this is kind of where it's make or break. If he has a way out of this position, he will have it next turn. But, you know, it's just a gamble I kind of have to take, and I end up finding my own Cypher Maniac's code breaking. So this is where I can guarantee the energy, because obviously the energy is really important. I could Lily as well to try and maybe maximize my cards, but in this position I really want the energy, because this is my only real win con. And then what else might I need in this position, right? I only have a single attacker. I only have one Zoroark in play. So I end up going for the Scoop Up Cyclone. And Scoop Up Cyclone is nice because it can pick up my Fezandipity, and I can rebench a Zorua for the later stages of the game. Because let's say this does work out, right? Let's say I am able to go ahead and knock out this guy, he'll probably respond KO my Zoroark. And I don't have a single Zoroark or a response in play, so I will have to probably bench a Zorua and, you know, bring up the Zorua and attack with that. Or, you'll see what I do next turn, is I could attack with the Pekrunt, because the Pekrunt does 60 damage for each prize card my opponent has taken. And at that point, they will have taken 5 prize cards, meaning I'll be dealing 300 damage. Meaning I'll be able to knock out whatever he puts into play, right? No matter what it is, I'll be able to knock it out. So I'm kind of in a position here now where I have my prize map mapped out, I kind of understand everything I'm trying to do, and I decide to not ends PP up just because I don't need it right now, right now it's not I can't be hand disrupted unless he plays Judge or something, and he probably is not going to be playing Judge this turn. It's probably not a Judge turn for him. So instead he goes Energy Switch, he attaches, and thankfully for me, he does not have another Pokemon, another energy to attack. Because if he was able to attack with the Yveltal this turn, attack my Yveltal this turn, he probably wins the game. But he fortunately for me, didn't have the energy, so he doesn't go for it. And he kind of sees the play I'm making here now, so now he's able to start benching his liabilities because he's assuming this next turn is the turn I'm going to start swinging. And obviously, this is the turn that I activate. This is my go turn. This is the turn where I am able to move the rest of the damage onto the Kangaskhan to knock that out. I'll be able to bring up my Zoroark to knock that out as well. And all of a sudden, I'm ahead in the prize cards. But I still obviously need to set up a checkmate. I need to set up a stronger board state for the following turn. Because if I do get disrupted now, because remember, I do understand he's playing Unfair Stamp, and this is the turn that I'm going to be taking prize cards. So I need to try and build up my board in a way where I try and guarantee the win on the following turn. Because just because I have gone for this play and I'm able to go ahead in the prize cards doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to close out the game on the following turn. It doesn't mean I'm guaranteed that last prize card, right? I still have to work for it because I still have to find another energy for the Pekrunt. I'd have to either find a Zoroark. I just have to find a way to close out the game. And right now on the board, I do not have a way to close out the game. And this is where the Scoop Up Cyclone comes in. Like I mentioned, I could pick up the Fezandipity, but there is a better card to pick up, and that is the MVP of this game, the Yveltal. I can pick up the Yveltal instead of the Fezandipity, because if I'm assuming he's going to go ahead and take a knockout on my Zoroark, then I want my Fezandipity in play from getting Unfair Stamped, right? I want to make sure that I'm going to see as many cards as possible. So I go ahead and ends PP up to the Zoroark so I can attack with him this turn. I go ahead and manual attach to the Pekrunt as well, so that I win if I find a energy on the following turn as well. And then I go ahead and pick up my Yveltal and rebench a Zorua, meaning if I find a Zoroark on the following turn, I just get to see 2 extra prize cards, right? I'm currently trying to maximize my outs in this game to win on the following turn. And that's very important because maximizing your outs sometimes is just what gets you the win. And that's exactly what I did this game was, even though I was really far behind, as long as I played to my outs, there is still a chance I'm able to win the game. And that's basically what the Pokemon trading card game is about. Just min-maxing your opponent, trying to get that little bit of an edge over them, and trying to play as optimally as possible. Sure, there were some mistakes I made in this game. Like, for example, in the earlier game, I probably could have Ultra Balled from Monkey Dory to try find the energy a little bit faster because I was thinning my deck. Or just try to go for a little bit more cleaner play in the early game and try and see if I had any more options. But I think I did a pretty good way in finding the only out in this current position. Obviously, my opponent had ways to play around this. If he was able to find multiple energies on that turn earlier, if he was able to attack with his Teal Muscle Pokemon, I lose the game, right? But it's just kind of trying to check my opponent for as many things as possible. Do you have energy? Do you have enough energy that you can Crispin still? Do you have enough energy in your hand that you can Teal Dance and manually attach? Do you have Prime Catcher? If you have any of these things, fair enough. If you don't, well, I'm going to win the game. So I'm just trying to check my opponent for as many things as possible. And then obviously here, he goes for the Raging Bolt knockout, but he doesn't really have anything going for him. He didn't have the Unfair Stamp, and I have game in hand. I have just the attach onto the Spekrant and KO this guy. And if he passes and doesn't try and attack this turn, then all I have to do is Pekarant into the Zorua, attach to the Zorua, retreat out of Zorua into the Zoroark, and then knock out. And if you retreat into something like a Kangaskhan, I could just boss around that, right? And that's how this game ends. My opponent scoops here. I'm kind of sad he scooped because I wanted to really close out the game. I was hoping he would hit the energy and hit the knockout, and we could close it out. But I am quite happy, and you can tell Stream Me was also quite happy with this dub. So yeah. If you guys enjoy this content, then smash like, smash subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.